listening to New Roads, New Rules, the podcast where women come together to navigate life's big transitions with honesty, humor, and a whole lot of heart. Here are your hosts, Sandi and Terri. Real women, real talk, and ready to ride.
But you're my bestie for life. Yeah, you're the family I choose. Yeah, the best till the end. We can get through this together.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're talking about something that I think almost every woman has dealt with at some point in her life, weight loss. I mean, I'm always dealing with it, but have been talking about it multiple times throughout our episodes. But this time we're not just talking about weight loss, but the cycle that so many women get stuck in. You lose some weight, you gain it back, you try again, and eventually you start feeling like you've tried everything. And that's describing my entire life. I've tried different diets, counting calories, cutting carbs, working out more, and yet somehow the cycle just keeps repeating, right? So today we wanted to have a conversation about why that may happen and why the answer might have a lot less to do with willpower than what we've been told in the past, right, Sandi?
Yeah, so much so. Welcome, everyone. I love this topic. I know so many people that struggle with it. I struggle with it. I think all women do.
I don't know who doesn't.
I'm excited today because we have a guest. Her name is Hannah, and she is a certified life coach and trainer with a background in psychology. What makes her perspective really interesting is that she has lived the same cycle so many women experience, right?
Yes.
She's lost 30 pounds, gained 50 back, and eventually lost and maintained being the word, 70 pounds for good. But the turning point wasn't another diet or stricter rules. It was changing her mindset and rebuilding her habits. Today, she helps women around the world break destructive patterns around food and build sustainable weight loss that actually lasts. Hannah, welcome to New Roads, New Rules. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before you became a coach helping women with this, what did your journey look like? You've talked about losing weight and gaining it back. What do you think changed you mentally that second time around?
So I always struggled with my weight. It was always a conversation at home, watching my older sisters. And I was never forced on you need to do a diet, at least, from an early age. It was healthy habits, but it was everything around me was eat less, or it's okay to have frozen yogurt for dinner because it's less calories, or, all the different things that I tried on my own. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I decided, okay, I need to start losing weight. I can't do this anymore. And I went to a doctor who specialized in obesity. And he put me on all these medications, and he told me you need to have your yogurt with then don't have water and then fruit and all these rules. At the same time, I was, sneaking into the kitchen in the middle of the night, eating tons of nuts and downing nut butters and then acting like it didn't happen, or getting on the scale and freaking out because it jumped. And then constantly starting and stopping. And I think it was getting out of an environment that was causing me a lot of stress and overwhelm, and being able to feel happier in life. I think that was a big thing, and realizing that your environment plays such a big part. And also really getting out of the mindset of how can I lose the weight super fast and how can I get to the end goal, and instead, let me just make this my lifestyle. Because the moment that I made it my lifestyle, I started walking more. I was working out because it felt good, not just because, I ate a whole box of chocolate. Focusing on eating healthy foods, not because it's, something I have to do and it's a punishment, but genuinely because it feels good to take care of myself.
Right.
So I think really the shift of learning that this is something as a lifestyle. This is something that I want to enjoy, and I can still eat dessert. I can still, eat sushi and Chinese food. I don't need to go crazy with it. And it was a process. It didn't something that happened overnight. I think that was another big part, is that I got more patient with it instead of being I need to lose the weight super fast. I understood that it was going to take time. And for the first time, I started losing the weight at a consistent speed, but not regaining it because I wasn't giving up and starting over again. It was just, let's keep going.
Right. No, I totally hear that.
Yeah, totally. So this is the thing that's most interesting to me. So it sounds like the psychological side is often the missing piece. When you look back at your earlier attempts, do you think mindset was really the difference between like temporary weight loss and then something that's stuck?
Definitely. I think at the end of the day, weight loss is 90% mental. I think that it's super important what we eat. Like, I am a strong believer that you can have, you say a chocolate bar and 200 calories, or you can have some fruit and it's 200 calories. But at the end of the day, what you're eating does matter, because if you choose whole foods, it's going to fill you up. It's going to make you feel better. I still believe that, we need to incorporate the chocolate and if people want to drink or whatever it is, because that's a balanced lifestyle. But I think back when I was, chasing the diets, my mindset was very much, I can't have this. And then the moment I did have it, it was, okay, well, I ruined everything, so I might as well just keep going.
Right.
Oh, that's happened to me. That has absolutely happened to me. I make one mistake and I'm like, I'm done.
Exactly. And like all these off limits. Or, I think the fact of I was super reactive. I was always, I feel uncomfortable. Okay, I need to eat something right now.
Right.
I'm having a bad day. I need to eat something. So, I got in a fight with my mom. She's looking at me taking extra potatoes. So I'm going to on purpose take more potatoes because, in
she's bothering me.
Bothering me. Learning to kind of slow down, pause, everything's okay.
Right.
But definitely, I think it was mindset and habits. And like I said, sneaking down in the middle of the night just because it's healthy and I'm eating, something that's better, quote unquote, doesn't make it that I'm not going to gain weight. Overeating is overeating.
Right.
That's right.
So a lot of women do say at some point, like, I've tried everything. And when somebody says that to you, do you usually find it's actually something else happening underneath that? Do you try to get to that point with your clients?
Definitely. So when clients tell me they tried everything, first of all, I'm like, you're speaking my language, because I also tried everything and I understand and sympathize with what that means and what that feels like. And I think, first of all, that's the hardest part, because when you've tried everything and you've failed so many times, the foundation is creating the belief, because in reality, the biggest predictor of weight loss is believing that you can succeed. And most of the women who have tried everything don't believe that they can succeed, because all the evidence points otherwise.
Right.
So what I help them understand is that when they tell me I've calorie counted and I've done Weight Watchers and I've done keto and I've done paleo and fasting and all the things, what they're really telling me is that they've just done rules. And rules don't survive in real life. What survives in real life is skills. Because if you have a bad day, like I said, and you just say, okay, screw it, I'm not going to count calories today, or I'm going to just eat the bread today, I'm just going to eat the chocolate today, that isn't sustainable. But if you say, okay, I'm going to build skills, I'm going to work on my mindset, I'm going to learn how to eat chocolate and not go crazy with the chocolate, or yes, maybe I did overeat today and I'm just going to keep going and everything's okay, that's really the turning point. So clients that told me I've done everything, I understand that they've just done rules and they never built skills and they never worked on their mindset, because that's what all the weight loss programs are all missing. Where's the work on our mindset? That's the missing piece.
Right.
Anybody can tell you
because,
what to eat.
No, I totally agree, because I think isn't that why the weight was put on? Is because it was all in your mind. It was, emotional eating. It was, whatever. I had a bad day, I'm going to eat the whole package of Oreos. It's the mindset that got you into the weight gain to begin with. Yeah. So you've got to change that to get out of it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Not only that, I had a bad day, but like, I deserve this. I worked hard on this project. I deserve this.
I deserve this. Always the reward.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I worked out.
One of the shocking data points that I had read.
She's our research person, by the way.
Right.
She always has her research stuff.
I read somewhere, I don't even know what study it was, but the study estimated that 90 to 95% of diets fail long term. And I feel like that's such a shocking number. And then they often do talk about what you were just saying, which was the all or nothing thinking. Mm-hmm. So when someone slips up, they're like, okay, the effort is done now. And I'm one of those people. I think I've said on a past podcast where I did one of those weight loss challenges with my friends. and I wasn't seeing the results they were. So I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I like literally just gave up.
Yep.
Do you see that pattern with the women you work with?
Definitely. So our brain likes quick reward. That's the first thing. And we want the hits of the dopamine. We want the serotonin. And the moment that, especially when women who are like a slave to the scale, weight loss takes time. And sustainable weight loss is not going to happen overnight. And especially if you've done something restrictive, you might have seen that at a very fast speed. And when the scale doesn't move or fluctuate, especially as women, hormones, more intense workouts, if you didn't go to the bathroom, and where you are in your cycle, if you had more carbs, it doesn't mean that you gain fat. It means that, your body can be retaining more water. And most women think, oh my God, the scale jumped overnight, therefore I ruined everything. And okay, you know what? I give up. Or like you said, if you do it with your friends, everybody's body's going to respond differently. Or like a lot of women do it with their husband.
Oh, that's awful.
Always.
They always lose it.
Right.
Yes.
Men can be doing everything and they're going to drop 7 pounds, but women can do everything. And then they get on the scale and they're up 5 pounds. And it doesn't mean that things aren't working, but because we want instant results, the moment we don't see that, the moment our brain says, oh my God, it's not working, we try to give up. And what I do with my clients in every session is we start by what are we celebrating? Because the journey is so much more than just a number on the scale or what we see in the mirror. But I went for a walk today, or you know what? I was super triggered last night, and instead of going for the ice cream and the wine, I slowed down and I made a conscious choice. Or I had a great day. I had a great day, and I celebrated with something else. Not I deserve to eat the whole entire cake mentality.
Right.
Definitely.
That's a hard one. Yeah, that's a hard one to get past.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But definitely women who we don't see quick results and we want to give up. I think it's honestly with everything, whether it's building a business or weight loss or anything, building habit.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. So another concept that comes up a lot in psychology is the habit loops. You just said habit loops, like cue, routine, reward, right? So once these patterns are wired into our brains, they can really be hard to break, right? So when you work with women, are you helping them change the habit? I know you're talking about conversations you're having, but like, are you helping them change the habit or the way they respond to the triggers? So like, how are you preparing them for that?
I would say a little bit of a mix of both. I think that the first thing is understanding that we can't be so reactive, which definitely takes time. And by being able to be less reactive, we implement new habits. So for example, so let's say they're used to emotional eating. So what we'll do is I'll teach them how to experience that negative emotion, whatever's coming up. Like I'm craving chocolate. Okay, let's pause. So pausing is going to be a combination of replacing the initial habit of being super impulsive, but also targeting the reactiveness. So instead of jumping to eat something, they're able to slow down and kind of say, okay, what's going on? And then what we do is implement a trigger habit. So if they're feeling uncomfortable, maybe that looks like going for a walk. I personally, if I notice a craving coming up, I like to talk it out with myself. Hannah, what's going on? You good? Like, where are these cravings coming from? Because then in that sense, it's number one, replacing the habit, and also giving us a moment to be less reactive. And then if they still want to eat something, and this is in the context of emotional eating or cravings or whatever it is, they're able to make a choice. I don't tell my clients, never eat the chocolate, never emotional eat, because that's also not realistic. And that's what a lot of programs emphasize. You need to be perfect. And that's not human beings, especially women. We're full of emotions. And but the difference is making a choice to say, I choose to eat this and I move on. Instead of, I shouldn't have eaten that. And, oh, what did I do? And I didn't even want that, because there is a part of us that did want it. And we have to speak to that part. And sometimes what we'll see, whether it's myself or with my clients, the moment that they make that conscious choice, they're able to say, you know what, I actually don't want this. I realize that I was just, trying to fill some other need. And actually, it feels empowering to say, I move on and everything is okay.
Right.
I think it's definitely a combination that go together.
Right. No, I agree.
That makes sense.
I am an emotional eater, and I did change because I've lost over 100 pounds here over the last year and a half or whatever. Right. Just changing my mindset, and which everybody asks, what are you doing? I'm like, literally, it's a flip that switched. Right. Yeah. or switch that flipped. But I did, I'm an emotional and the trigger. So I kind of have turned to Tic Tacs, because it's only like 1 calorie. So in my head, girl math, I'm like, all right. So if I really wanted something and I'm not eating the entire box or the bag, literally will put the Tic Tac, a few Tic Tacs in my mouth. And so I'm getting something, and I'll go walk, I'll do something else, but I still have that trigger. So I've just changed it to Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
Because then I don't feel as guilty or like, whatever, and I still feel like I've gotten something,
That's a good point.
So
so my switch hasn't flipped yet. So I am still very much an emotional eater. I
still am. So. I still can be when I get stressed and whatnot. But I will now go. I do go for my walk. I'm trying to get into the habit of okay, do some yoga or do something else. But I will have my Tic Tacs, and I'm like, oh, just give me a Tic Tac, and so that has been again, and I'm not overeating Tic Tacs because then I'll get sick.
By the way, she has a huge bag of Tic Tacs.
I do have the refillable bag in my car, and I keep it in my car, and I only have a couple Tic Tacs here, and so I'll just take a Tic Tac, because then I don't feel as guilty.
I think that can only come the fact that you've worked on your mindset, I have clients that come to me and they're like, well, I'm just going to eat something healthier instead because that's what, the diet industry has taught us. And I always explain to them, but we got to go back to the source. If in the beginning you're having cravings or you're wanting to emotionally eat, and cravings don't have to just be, I had a bad day and I need a type of ice cream, or I deserve this and give me a type of ice cream. It can be any time that we changed our mind. We said we're going to have a salad, but then all of a sudden we want to have pizza instead.
Right.
Something happened and we have to understand, is it because of other people? Is it because of pressure? What's going on?
Right.
And instead of just replacing it with a healthier option, I always say, let's go back to the source and understand what's causing the craving in the first place, and not with judgment, with curiosity, like an investigator. We don't want to put guilt on it, but we want to get curious about where this is coming from instead of just saying, oh, let me just have an apple instead. Because especially if you have a history of dieting, it becomes an apple and then some rice cakes and then some dates, whatever. You might as well just eat the chocolate. Chocolate's not bad. And the moment we say, let me have an apple instead, then it emphasizes that the chocolate is the problem, but it's not the chocolate. It's not the chocolate.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I think that, that was it. To me, oh, go grab a bag of lettuce, it is a negative thing. It is, I'm stuck to rabbit food, and I want something else. So yes, I've changed it to the Tic Tac because it's sweet. Then,
you get a little sweetness there. But it is also like, oh, poor me, I have to eat this salad.
Or the apple. And I'm like, ugh.
Right.
So we do talk a lot of to women in their 40s and 50s. And they on the podcast, and they're like, nothing that used to work is working with me anymore because now they're hitting perimenopause and menopause. So from your perspective, what actually is happening in our bodies during that stage of life? Can you talk to that at all? Do you deal with women at all in those areas?
Mm-hmm. So I do have women that are, I have women that range from 20s to late 40s, I would say, or most of the clients. I can't speak specifically to what's going on in premenopause, but I will say that, our bodies do respond differently. Lifestyle changes, stress. I think that especially if they've done restrictive dieting before, your body gets used to that. And we have to understand okay, is that still going to work for us? Because it can work, especially if you're very disciplined and you just say, I'm in a restrictive diet forever. Right. That might work for you, but for how long? So I would say, but again, I think that if it's anything, it's really all mindset. Again, I can't say specifically what's happening in menopause, so I don't want to say something that's out of my area of expertise. Right. But I do believe that, probably also as we get older, your mindset kind of changes and it becomes can I maintain this diet anymore? Life stress or am I sleeping as well? Everything plays a factor.
Yeah.
Right. So I think
I was just going to say there's a lot of research around sleep, stress, and hormones, which is everything you just said, right? And also a lot of it, menopause plays a big part in all of that. Yeah. So it's a huge, it does play a huge role in the weight regulation. But do you find that women often focus only on food and exercise and overlook the other things? I mean, in your business?
Yeah, I think that everybody's focused on, well, there's two things. I think that people are very heavily focused on exercise when in reality, simple movement, walking around, walking to the store, not taking the car all the time, taking the stairs, that plays such a bigger part than your workouts. Working out, I think, is one of the best things that we can do. And I love working out because it makes you more confident. It makes you happier. I think it has so many benefits overall, but when it comes to weight loss, it's a really small piece. And what it goes back to is our eating habits. But I think that women are focused on what I'm eating. Like a lot of the time clients will come to me like, well, what do I need to eat? What do I need to eat? How many calories do I need to eat? And more than what are we eating, it's about how we're eating it and why we're eating it. Am I eating because I'm actually hungry, or am I just eating it just because? It can be healthy, but it doesn't mean that you're actually hungry right now. So I think that most women are very focused on what I need to eat and how many calories they're burning. I think that nowadays, especially with social media, everything is, am I getting enough protein? And my cortisol and all that, which again, I think it's another fad. Listen, protein is very important. And for someone who's not eating any protein, of course, it's going to make a big difference if they're going to start focusing on protein. But like, we don't want to skip the fruits and vegetables. We want to skip our fiber. We want to have a balanced meal. And when I think it comes to hormones, I think that we do skip over it. But I think that, again, like it's very heavily focused on, is my cortisol too high? And is that the reason I'm not losing weight? And I don't think so. I think that if you're stressed, you're not sleeping as well, you're going to have more cravings. You maybe are in like this hustle energy of like, I just need to work out. But it does slow fat loss if you're not sleeping. But I think stress is affecting women, not just because cortisol is high and they're holding on to belly fat, but more so that their lifestyle is going to be impacted when they're so stressed. Right. But now the whole focus is on, oh my God, my cortisol is high. I need to do all these 10-step morning routines. When, no, so go back to the basics.
So having So having a woman in that who's like high stress, and what would your advice be to her to help her get through that and continue on the weight loss? Because I think it's that point where they're like, I'm going to give up because this is my life. And if it's not going to, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's me.
That's me right now.
So I think that, first of all, just going through, if a client is already feels like she's doing all the things and she has so much stress in her life and all of that, what it looks like is me helping them understand, okay, what are we eating like today? And how can we make small, simple changes? How can we implement, a structure that maybe is missing? So for example, if they say like, I don't eat breakfast, I'm not hungry in the morning, I don't believe that every single person needs to eat breakfast. I believe that let's look at your pattern. So if you don't eat breakfast, but then you're snacking all the afternoon, or you're eating and ordering takeout in the evening, then clearly something isn't working. But again, it's not like, okay, let me give you a strict meal plan and then you just need to do that on top of your stress, but more so small things that we can add in. So let me add in more for whole foods. If I'm going to eat the chocolate, how can I eat it more in an intentional way? And also a big part of my coaching is working on, like I said, the mindset, but how we perceive situations. So if, for example, you're at work and your boss makes a comment to you and that sends you into a spiral, let's understand, what did the boss really say? What was the comment? And what did we make it mean? And through that, we're able to really understand and change the way we respond and react to situations, instead of just, making everything super personal or going into like crazy stress. Because at the end of the day, most things are neutral, but we bring so much meaning to it. And my job as a coach is to help them respond to their triggers, because their triggers aren't going anywhere, but just do it in a way that supports them instead of working against them.
Right.
That makes sense.
All right, Hannah, we're going to do a quick lightning round. We do that every now and then. And I'm going to ask you some questions. First thing that comes to your mind, just let it rip. Okay. So what's the worst diet trend you've ever seen?
Wow. I mean, personally, that I tried, I would say cutting out carbs and cutting out junk food. I've heard, there's so many things now. People are doing like kefir trends and all this stuff, but definitely cutting carbs and junk food. It's not realistic.
All right. What's one habit that can make a huge difference for someone trying to lose weight?
Walking. And whole food.
That's walking always comes up. What's the most common mistake women make when trying to lose weight?
Doing something extreme and waiting for life to calm down.
That's for sure. And what's the best advice you would give someone who feels like they're starting over again?
I think that acknowledging that it's annoying and that it's frustrating and that you've been in the cycle, because I think the moment that we try to like push that off and get all positive and do these affirmations, like it's not going to work. And I would say that, wow, sorry, I just blinked out. What was the question again?
That happens to me all the time.
What's the best advice you would give someone who feels like they're starting over again?
Okay, so I would say, like I said, number one is acknowledging that it's annoying, but choosing to focus on the fact that this is going to be the last time and really locking in on that and going in with the mindset like, okay, if you see that somewhere else in your life that you succeeded, like I always help my clients see like, what are you proud of in your life? Whether it's a career, maybe you're a mom of like 3, maybe you're something in your life, let's borrow that belief. So if I'm able to say at work, like I'm really proud of myself because I got to XYZ, let's take that and apply it to our weight loss journey so that our brain looks for the evidence to say, wow, I'm capable of this, instead of always going to the parts of, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to succeed,
right.
blah, blah, blah.
Look at how I made a mistake.
Right. And then the second thing is I would just get curious and start to ask yourself, am I eating to the point, am I satisfied? And am I eating because I'm actually hungry? Just learning to be more mindful instead of just eating on autopilot all the time, rather than doing any crazy extreme diet, just focusing on how you're eating and why you're eating rather than what I'm eating. I've seen clients that already make changes simply because they learn to check in with themselves.
That's great. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today and sharing your story and your perspective, because I think the conversation is going to resonate with a lot of women who feel like they've been stuck in the cycle for years, because honestly, it happens so often.
I agree. And I love that your approach takes the pressure off perfection and really focuses on understanding ourselves better and building habits that actually last. We'll make sure that we include all of your links to all the links to you on our
website,
all of our platforms, and our in the show. Right.
And if you want to share it now, if somebody is looking for a coach, how do they contact you? What's the best way to contact you?
So my Instagram, I would say, is the best place. I also share a lot of accessible and useful tips that you can start to apply already today. I have a link in there for my Stan store, and my DMs are also always open. I start with a free intro call, see if we're the right fit to work together on both sides, and go from there.
That sounds great, Hannah.
That's amazing.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
It's your turn. Let's hear what you have to say.
All right, roadies, now it's your turn. We want to hear from you. Okay, have you ever caught yourself saying, okay, I'm starting on Monday?
Yes. Oh, yes. And if you've been on your own health or weight journey, what's one mindset shift that actually helped you? Come share your thoughts with us inside the community, of course, at newroadsnewrules.com.
All right, Terri. So what is our rule of the week?
And now it's time for the rule of the week.
This week's rule: stop starting over and start continuing your journey. Because one real change doesn't come from being perfect. Who's perfect? We're not perfect, right?
Nobody is.
It comes from being consistent. And this is what I have had to teach myself over and over again.
Right.
You just have to be consistent. I mean, and even Sandi with our podcast, 2 girls who've never done a podcast before, we just be consistent.
We're still going strong.
We're still going strong and we're growing. Consistency doesn't have to wait for Monday, right? The first of the month or the beginning of the new year. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just keep going.
It's true. I've really enjoyed this episode, and I hope the roadies have as well. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, who might need to hear this conversation. If you know a friend that is just so always starting over, always frustrated with the weight loss journey, share this episode. Make sure they have access to the link to Hannah. I think she can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And you guys, we'll see you next time on New Roads, New Rules.
Absolutely. See you next time.
But you're my bestie for life.